Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV back down here at Brinkley getting my first full walkthrough of this new Z3200. I've had so many requests to do this thing, and it's not that I've been putting it off. They have been making a couple little changes and tweaking the kitchen on this a little bit, and it's funny, I walked in it the first time, and I walked around, and I'm like, this is a kitchen that my mother would love. My mother will tell you, she doesn't like camping, but she loves glamping. But an RV's got to have a really bang-up kitchen for her, and that's exactly what this one has. Like, I can see myself standing at the sink. I can tell already where, we would put the cups, the bowls, the everything. Like, I look at this, and I immediately started moving in like it was a house because it has that kind of feel to me, where it has that open and airy, but still clearly defined kind of separation of kitchen and living room. But I love this arrangement because one of the things that I like about RVing is that the social aspect of it. But so often in so many RVs, when you are in the kitchen, you're left out of everything else in the RV. And this one does not do that. You're overlooking the entertainment, which is a giant smart TV Jumbotron, overlooking a thing that I really like, that kind of wraparound sectional style sofa with the dual recliner function, of course, straight across from the TV. And then next to that, the very Brinkley signature do-it-all Dinesc that some folks don't like it. I really love it because if I want a computer desk, if I want double computer stations, if I want room for multi-monitors, or if I just want the two of us to sit down and have a bite to eat, or invite friends over and play a game of cards or Monopoly or something like that. And this type of table is not the type where when you're losing at Monopoly, you can't flip the table and cause a mess for everybody else to pick up. But you may have seen recently my video on the 2700 Brinkley. This is the 2700, just a little bit on steroids, almost the exact same living room and kitchen, but a juiced up upper deck with a full east-west queen or king bed slide, stackable washer dryer prep, and all the trimmings. Can't wait to hear what you think about this thing. Leave me some notes, let me know what you think, and in the meantime, if you appreciate what we do down here for you, hit that subscribe button. Let's get going. And if you kind of like this living room setup, but like for some reason this RV doesn't exactly trip your trigger, they have versions of this living room and kitchen combo layout now, even all the way down into the Model I travel trailer series, but they have several of them in the Zs. They have several of them in the Gs. They have found an arrangement that just really works for what they do, and they have redone it as many times as they could in as many RVs as they could. And that's not a criticism. I'm not mad at that. I like this thing. I think it does a lot of things really, really well. Currently, this is just a really nice, long, extended sofa area. And what I like about that is, like, I'm a guy who's over 6 foot tall and a couple 100 pounds. So if I want to just kind of like you see right over there, throw a pillow in the corner and stretch out and lounge, I have the room to do that. Actually, why talk about it when I could show you? First of all, as always, I have a no shoes on the furniture policy. That is one of those things that just absolutely grinds my gears when I watch the little bit that I watch other people's videos. I don't watch a lot of them. Mostly what I mean is manufacturers' videos. Nothing cheeses me off quicker than watching some guy who's been walking through a factory all day stomp their boots on stuff. I will say though, if you watch my Brinkley factory video tour, some crazy cool things they do. They've got some of the cleanest facilities I've ever been in. Part of the reason is each one of their production facilities, of which they have multiple now, has 8 people full-time on staff doing nothing but keeping the place tidy. There's a lot of little benefits to that, but just, not stomping on things is great. What I was getting at is, this is currently, these are currently, pushback, slide back recliners. Now, I'm always trying to be real with this. These two, especially these two interior recliners, they're going to fight with one another. So this has 5 reclining seats, but you're not going to be able to use all 5 at one time. Some people, they don't really care for that. Some people like the options. It's up to you to decide. I'm not here to tell you what's good and what's not. I'm just trying to show you and educate you. But they are, pardon me, talking about potentially making this section here a fold-out hide-a-bed, which I think could be really cool. But if you mostly couples camp and maybe have like one grandkid or one buddy or something that comes over, or you have what one of our viewers calls Tag Along Tina. I love that name. But I wanted to demonstrate that even 6 foot and a couple hundred pounds, I can very comfortably stretch out and lay here. Like, yeah, this is not a hide bed, but I think it's reasonable to say that, like, I could spend a night here. I'm still not even all the way down on this thing, let alone, you know, if you're kind of side sleeping or whatever. But the other thing I like is, depending on how many people are here, you can kind of see the corner of the TV over there. You know, sometimes couples want to snuggle. Sometimes they want their separate space. Sometimes you just sort of, it's been a long day and you're just kind of laying here and eventually you drift off or something like that. Then you wake up with a crazy kink in your neck. But the point is, I like these lounge arrangements. They feel more residential. Now I got myself thinking about, man, I slipped off my pillow one night 2 weeks ago, and I still can't turn my head to the right to merge into traffic. I used to be able to, like, I just noticed today, I can't comfortably stand up and, like, put on socks anymore. I have to sit down and put on socks. When did this happen to me? So yeah, I personally feel this can do a little bit of whatever you want it to do here. Now, there had been talk that they might change this up, but currently, these two recliner sections right here, they do need to be disengaged and stowed under the do-it-all dinette. But thankfully, you can kind of see the white lines down there. They are on rollers. It is fairly easy to do that, but you are still technically doing a little bit of wrestling with those things. Something I want to point out, you have to look really hard. Like standing here, I can only see 6 exposed mechanical fasteners, screw heads, basically. And I have to really know where to look to spot those things. Brinkley is very good about very clean fit and finish. Like all your slide fascia screws in from the back side of this thing. You notice too how they don't put a lot of GIMP mold trim up here. Now crown molding can look really cool, but the reason the RV industry often uses it is to hide imperfections where the sidewall meets the roof line. And they're not doing that here. That means that they have to execute that construction a little bit better. Now, when you are, again, over here in the lounger, this RV doesn't have like full super slide campsite window coverage. The Z3100 will do that, but it won't quite have the kitchen that this thing has. But you've got some good campsite overlook windows, some cross breeze. You've got, of course, the multifunction dinette. I did a real fast flyby of that in the flyby footage. I guess I did a flyby during the flyby. Yeah, okay, yep, good job, Josh. Way to really think that one through. I'm an idiot, regardless. A couple quick notes. They use what I call these square flow windows, which have become very popular. Not all of them necessarily open for airflow. In this video where you see the night shade only, that is a viewing only window. Where you see the night and the day shade, those have the bug screens, those open for airflow. You'll see in both cases the night shades draw down from the top. I have had a number of people request that the nightshade draw up from the bottom. I don't know if that's a supplier related item or anything, but I guess let's ask one time finally officially on camera, how would you like those shades to operate? Do you like the nightshade to draw from the bottom up like the entry door? Or do you like them how they are? If you're willing to leave a comment, we can get that back to them. Before I forget, let's look up top here. We do have factory standard dual air. Down here in the big dual super slide, these are both opposing floor flush super slides, by the way. We have the 18,000 BTU Furrion Chill Cube unit. Upstairs, you have a separate Furrion unit, not a Chill Cube, but it's a 13,500 BTU up there. And that is servicing only the upper deck, so the smaller air conditioner services the smaller rooms, the bigger air conditioner services the biggest room. It kind of makes sense when you think about it like that. You've got solid surface counters all the way around this thing, and they try where they can to put power outlets in easier reach positions, but like on the side of a laminated slide wall like this, you can't easily do that. So there will be a couple power outlets under overhead cabinets, but notice how the gap between the countertop and that cabinet is a little bit smaller here versus the back of the RV. The back of the RV, though, they have a different opportunity, and they are able to put the power outlets down right where you want them, right above the countertop level, which this RV, I think, potentially has plenty of counter space. But this is kind of what I was talking about right here. When the video began, I always try to look at things like this, like through the eyes of my mother. Basically, she's a person who had spent a number of years. She's a wizard at packing 10 pounds of sugar into a 5-pound sack in RV cabinetry. Ever since I was a little guy, she demonstrated her ability to do that. I grew up camping in the family like 20-foot cream colored tin skin Fleetwood travel trailer that everybody and their brother had. I grew up sleeping on the overhead cabinet that folded down into a bunk. And I grew up eating, in case we forgot to bring the milk, using orange juice as the liquid in our cereal. So, like, that's how I grew up camping, which might explain a lot of things to you. But I grew up watching my mother be a wizard at packing all kinds of stuff into RVs. And this RV organically she would love it because it would fit her more like a home effectively with just the positioning of everything. That was a lot of backstory that really didn't tell you much about the RV. I'm sorry. Anyway, this Jumbotron, this is what I was saying. When you're standing right here in the kitchen, when you're doing kitchen stuff, you're still getting to enjoy the entertainment. So while it is a very comfortable couples floor plan, it's also a very cool entertainer's model. Now, I have heard some viewers be very vocal, and please continue to be vocal, but say, I absolutely do not like it when the countertop comes right up next to a sofa like that because I could splash stuff on the sofa, the people, etc. And I'm not here to argue with you about that. I could see that being a real thing. So I guess if you're going to do wet stuff, you do it on the rear counter by the sink and kind of plan accordingly. I feel like I could deal with that, but I don't have hard experience using it necessarily. So those two chairs right there, those fold away and you can stow them under the bed or you can stick them up your backside or whatever. I don't care. Whatever you feel like doing. And then these two recliner sections will actually slide under there for transit. And I didn't necessarily intend to do this, but we have worked our way doing a 360 here in the kitchen, and we're actually at a pretty decent position to start kind of cracking everything open. And I do really respect and appreciate how they try to use every little nook and cranny they can here. Like this area, it's tall. It's not tall. It's deep and it's high up. That's what I'm trying to say. My brain can't brain today. By the way, anything can be a verb if you word it hard enough. That's an interesting thing about the English language, but you get the idea. Now, they always do this to demonstrate. They'll display like a little Keurig machine over here. I think to help you realize that there are a set of like little appliance outlets in there, but I would love to see someone try to fill the water up with that in there. I would probably recommend putting that over on the countertop. This is actually probably one of the easiest and best ways for me to display the dovetail drawer construction here and my nerd preferred kind of like pantry logic where if the storage is at my waist or lower, I like drawers. I like the storage to come to me. But if it's going to be above my waist, I just like cabinetry because then you don't have to try to look above and tiptoe over a cabinet door to get to things. Now, even the entertainment center kind of gets in on the action over here through a couple things that, well, I didn't. Thank Brinkley for the object references right here. They put a couple odds and ends in the cabinet space just to give you a little bit of a look at all the things here. That TV, by the way, doesn't necessarily pivot. It can dismount, but that TV is a fixed mount. But it's big enough in this layout, the way it's positioned. I don't know that that's necessarily a problem. Now, over here on the driver's side, the poop side of the camper, as it were, they shrink the windows a little bit to give you more storage. I personally think that's not a bad way to go. Over on the campsite of the RV, they do try to give you the maximized windows where they can. Looking, just opening everything up once again, showing you all the little spaces. This right here, I could see some folks kind of not necessarily loving it, but I appreciate that they didn't just waste it. Like you've got 3 big drawers down to the floors right here. But obviously, if that countertop extension is open, it can make accessing those a little bit harder. So you do have to kind of plan accordingly a little bit. But again, they didn't waste the space on that. They just, like even under the stove, a drawer that comes out open to you. Now, of course, over here, some very Brinkley signature features like the removable paper towel spindle, you know, the places to put extra little, you know, Ziploc bags or whatever. You might notice these are all soft close, as I demonstrated right there. You've got double trash or trash and recycling. And if you have a four-legged furry friend, they actually have these little pet dishes. Now, they have magnets on the back of them so it can mount against the base of the island over here, and these can collapse. So if you don't have a pet, you can just remove that. Nothing is going to be in your way. You haven't wasted anything. But if you do want to utilize them, you have them, you know, built right in, and well, not built in, but floating around in the RV and available. But again, every time I open this kitchen, I know I talk about this, but it makes me think about how my mother would set this kitchen up. Like the drawers for the silverware and stuff, they're exactly, I think, where she would want to place them. Now, normally I would say below the sink would be a great spot for waste baskets, but this is actually dishwasher prepped down here because we already have kind of, you know, trash can solutions handled in here. I can see things like the bowls and the plates in the upper corner, all of the coffee mugs and all the, you know, the plastic refillable cups that you use with the, you know, try not to spill stuff when you knock it off the table things. I put, you know, in that center area right there above the sink. It's a kitchen that just feels very organic and it makes sense to me. Now, you haven't really had a good look at these drawers. Allow me to reposition. Even stuff like just the place to put a hand towel directly below the sink. It just makes sense, dude. Now, all of the drawers, I say dude because I don't know your names individually. All the drawers open as far as the bottom ones there. And again, all this stuff, it's all soft close cabinetry, soft close drawers. They're very consistent. They also do a one-piece full size farm sink dish drying rack right there. There's, you know, a lot of stuff in the RV industry. It feels like it's a race to the bottom to get the lowest price tag. And a lot of times you'll get a big sink, but only a half-size drying rack. And they're like, well, you could buy a second one. Yeah, but you don't want to buy a second one. A lot of times you just sort of want it there, you know. Anyway, moving up front here. The handy little floating steps, those can operate like there's a little, you know, you want to throw like a little mat or something down there. That could be a handy little shoe garage. And I forgot to open these. Right here, I like this kind of at waist level, right in front of the door. This is where all your fuses and everything are located. So if you do blow a fuse, it's very easy to find and or replace. Your lighting, by the way, they are on dimmer switches. So that if you want to kind of dull the light down, you can. And I understand that what we're looking at right here isn't exactly the most stellar footage, but I don't use crazy fisheye wide angle lenses and we're staring directly there. But I just wanted to let you know that there is kind of a spot there for like gloves and hats and flashlights or whatever. Moving on upstairs, everything we've seen so far is pretty much a carbon copy match to the Z2700. It's the upstairs here that really changes. Instead of a north-south queen bed with no washer-dryer prep, this gives us an east-west full bed slide with an optional RV king bed and stackable or combo, whichever I guess you'd prefer, washer-dryer closet or just big bonus closet over there in the corner. Now, it confuses people sometimes because a lot of times RV manufacturers, when they make a big brother, little brother, they will make one fancier and more highly equipped. That's not the case here. The 2700 and the 3200 Brinkley have the exact same equipment package. It's just one has a slightly physically different layout to it. Now, a couple little interesting details here. I'm not going to call these CPAP shelves because they're not big enough, but a little phone charger shelf, and you see the USB plugs up there. There's a Type A and a Type C. And in typical Brinkley fashion, they always find a way to make a dead space useful. Like if you just want a little place to hang a jacket or something, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll come back to the bathroom, assuming I don't forget. I have a bad habit of doing that. While they're covered up by the very heavy curtains right now, which actually in a way is good to demonstrate that if you want to really blot the sun out of your bedroom, the way the Persian army blotted the sun out of the sky with their arrows fighting King Leonidas in the movie 300, you see exactly what I mean. But those, obviously, you do have your side breeze windows right there. I also want to give them some credit. They are trying to at least provide you
better bedding. Now, everyone has a different idea of what's good bedding, but this is not your normal 4-inch backbreaker death wafer that you find out there. This might be something that perhaps, maybe, in a rare instance in the RV industry, you don't feel you need to immediately replace. Now, the bed's obviously easy lift. I also appreciate the little things, how like they could use just some OSB or something under the bed here. It wouldn't hurt anything, it just wouldn't look as nice. And not only are they using a better material even under the bed, but just the little details, the way they have that radiused off so it's not gouging your shins and stuff. It's just the small things that make big differences. In case you're wondering, yes, you do have household outlets on both sides of the bed too. And you see how they have this indirect lighting beside the bed. That's actually operated by this little motion sensor down there. So when you sling your legs off the bed, middle of the night to hit the bathroom or whatever, you can see what you're doing. This is the only floor mounted heat vent in the RV. It's obviously basically under the hangover of the king mattress, so it's not really in a major walkable zone, but they didn't have a wall in this where they were able to kind of smoke screen and hide something like that. Let me get up here in the closet real quick. Couple things I like is, first of all, just how well lit it is. They're like the hanging bar is the light effectively, and I like that you can actually see what you're doing. A lot of RV closets, if you're trying to get ready in the morning, it's sometimes a little bit tough. And you see over here it says cordless vacuum prep. If you like, Brinkley's don't have a central vac. They kind of like the idea of the portable stick vac. I do appreciate how they put on that sticker, use 1-inch screws only. The reason they have to do that is if you look around enough, you're going to find a used RV where somebody took like 4-inch screws and gouged holes from the inside of their RV all the way through the exterior skin and, you know, punched holes in their camper wall. Well, you don't want to do that, so a 1-inch screw will get it done. Again, combo or stackable washer dryer prep over here, or it's just big closet or bonus dresser space. And speaking of dresser space, we have 7 drawers over here, 3 smalls and 4 bigs, just like in the kitchen, all dovetailed, all full extension. And you also have the full extension. I meant soft close. You have the little hideaway, slide away kind of contraband storage here. You can get a hold of your Brinkley dealer. Brinkley makes a wooden insert that you can slot back there to lock this open and convert this into an office or desk space. And I've actually seen some people post pictures of their Brinkley RVs with that done. And you see the handy dandy power outlet that over there on the side in case you felt like doing that. Now your bedroom smart TV, all that kind of stuff is all factory standard here. This is a little bit more interesting. It's easy to miss, but you actually have sideways sliding shades here on this horizontal window, and it does still open for airflow, which is kind of nice. Also, a little detail, they have a magnet holdback on that bedroom door. So it's not just kind of like always wobbling or bumping against the wall or in your way. Frankly, that magnet will hold it exactly where it is. Even in transit, it'll do exactly what you want. Now, over here in the bathroom, one of the things I really like about these Model Zs, take a look at the right side of the screen. They have a 79.5-inch ceiling height. I'm a little over 6 foot plus shoes in that footage. And there's still a good several inches. You ask most guys, there's like 8-9 inches above my head in that footage right there. But say LaVie, anyway, a lot of headroom. There's also just the little details, like they actually include just a couple little corner wire racks to give you a place to keep things like shampoos and body washes. A lot of RVs just don't do that. Now, remember where we saw those control panels and like the extra storage in the hallway area? That's half of that is behind the shower. The other half here is linen storage that you can actually reach. Now, a couple things on ye old potty spot right here. You can see on the left side of the screen, my little toilet selfie champion routine. I think it is generally speaking going to be fairly fluffy friendly. Now, it does also have a little toilet paper kind of tower holder, whatever you want to call it. It magnetizes in place over here. So again, you don't have to find a place to stow it for transit. This is a porcelain foot flush stool, but what throws people off is the thing that's under the toilet. They look at that and they say, why is the toilet lifted up? And this is really hard to realize initially. It's not. Most RV toilets will have like an extension stem under them. Brinkley came up with this solution right here so that they could angle the plumbing off the toilet so it does not penetrate into your front pass-through cavity, and it gave them a place to put a heat vent in the bathroom instead of in the floor. So it's doing a couple things. Now, another handy little detail here, if you watch my factory tour, you'll get to see, because you can't see it from here, that blank wall on the right side of the screen, that is actually seat prepped. If you want to install a fold down seat, it is built to be able to accept one. Now, over here in the bathroom space, you're still solid surface counters. I do like how they have a bigger sink. And as you can see, my vampire Lestat invisibility powers in the mirror are not activating today. So if you enjoy seeing a good look at yourself when you get out of the bathroom, there you go. If you're like me and you're like, that's disgusting, I would recommend taking a very hot, steamy shower to kind of cover that up. And I tell you what, I want to open that lower bathroom storage in just a second here, but I think this is actually a pretty decent opportunity to close things up for what I call road mode. And cool thing about Brinkley, they were one of the first towable manufacturers that said, we're going to build our RV so that if you want to actually crawl into and use the bed in a slide while it's retracted at a travel stop, you can do that. Most RV manufacturers don't. So an extra thing they're doing right there. Weaving our way around, I mentioned I'd give you a look at the storage cabinet space down here in this bathroom area. And again, all these drawers are the same depth. The cabinet door just prevents me from opening that one, but they give the bathroom the same treatment as the rest of the RV. Very common within the RV industry that your kitchen and living room gets the fancy treatment, because a lot of times that's where people stop shopping for details. They will glance at the bedroom and bathroom, but people tend to buy the living room and then they just find what they get in the bedroom and bathroom later. But Brinkley's very consistent on their treatments of everything. Now, as I mentioned, for transit, you really do want to move these two chairs here. But to give you an idea of exactly how easy this is, unlike my good buddy Hunter, I wasn't blessed with the bowling guns. Instead, Mother Nature blessed me with chicken arms, and I decided to do Nintendo about it. So yeah, but my point here is these things are on wheels. Guys, there's nothing to it.
Now, if we talk towing with this big bad beauty, one of the things that impresses me here is the kitchen and living room space that we get at something that's basically 35 foot long. That is also, there's a really interesting things that happens at 35 feet long. I kind of learned this camping with my father. He had a 35 foot long fifth wheel. And basically, the best way I can say it is the tire wipes of the trailer will almost exactly align with the tire tracks of your truck. So essentially, it's more a case of like wherever you point the truck, the trailer really tends to follow and echo and mirror very closely. So towing this is a little bit more organic, easy experience, which is really cool. Now, the thing is, though, with about 2,250 pounds of empty hitch weight and whatnot, there's absolutely no reason anybody with a half ton should ever be looking at this thing. And I know some people are going to ask, so I just want to get that out of the way. And I know that there's some people out there that would try to sell you this RV if you have a half ton. And if they try to do that, then run, don't walk, get away from them. Anyway, moving on from there, basically you're going to want probably a minimum heavy duty 3/4 up to 1 ton. I don't think you necessarily need to go dually. SRW would probably do the trick. Now, they don't offer a factory generator. There's very few factory options even available here, but they do kind of, they sort of run that, gen accessory wiring right there. So if you do want to add a generator to this, it is something that is potentially capable of handling it. The pin box and suspension, I'm glad to see, versus the original models, I like how they don't just rest on their laurels. They're always looking for ways to improve a little bit. The upgraded Kurt Helix pin box with that coil shock dampener system, matching the touring coil suspension package that you have on this, which is something that you talk to a lot of people who have towed around. It's not an independent suspension system, but it is kind of in terms of how it feels and rides and handles. People will say it feels like it's approaching an independent suspension system without the pretty epic cost of an independent suspension system. To give you an idea, if you wanted to upgrade to IS on something like this, like if you went to MoreRide and did it totally aftermarket, you're probably looking about 20 grand solid right there. And would it potentially ride and handle better? I think it would, but for 20 grand, it dang well better. Getting our way down here, we have the Uniroyal H-rated tires. They've stuck with their H-rated tires pretty much across the board. You get a better look at that suspension package over there. You'll also notice this model, it actually is a dual-headed sewer monster where you will have two separate gray outlets. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to a rear kitchen. Now, when you read the weights and measures on this, the gray water can be a little bit confusing because some people are going to represent it as 120 gallons of gray, which is not necessarily inaccurate, but it's not the whole story. Pardon my Diet Mountain Dew can over there. That's where I get my caffeine. I've never been a coffee drinker. I love the smell of the stuff, and the moment it hits my lips, I get those whiskey shivers, you know what I mean? The electronic dump gate valves up here. Those, of course, still have a manual override if you weren't aware. This is also a little sneak peek into the fact that they're using like brass fittings on their plumbing stuff. Like there's no flex hoses, crimp to PEX fittings in any Brinkley RV. And they also include the freshwater drinking hose right here. It's actually on its own retractable reel. It's something like 45 foot long on that thing. It's some crazy number like that. And this is not a drop frame storage compartment, but I don't know that you need it to be one because they made this so large in here. You don't tend to stack cargo on top of one another. You tend to stack it side by side. Also, before we David Blaine teleport through this thing, if I squat down a little bit, you can actually see how even this front pass-through cavity is forced air heated. And it occurs to me, I was getting ready to explain the gray water tank capacities on this, and then like my brain had a squirrel moment. What I'm getting at is there will be some folks that'll represent this as 120 gallons of gray. In total, it does, but it's actually over 3 tanks, 2 of which are adjoined. So you have dual 45-gallon gray tanks for your primary water use, and those are cross-plumbed together to give you a true 90-gallon capacity, and then you have an additional 30 gallons of capacity, if I'm not mistaken. The 90-gallon is hooked up to the bathroom area, since that's where you'll take your showers and whatnot, your sink. You'll use the most gray water there, and I believe the 30 gallons dedicated exclusively to the rear kitchen, where you tend to have less water usage. I also got off track here. Sorry, squirrel, again. I got a whole nest of squirrels in my brain this morning, apparently. It's not a drop frame, but it still kinda is. They include these cargo boxes down here where if you want to, like we've got a chair set up as a demo, but whatever the case might be, it gives you additional space to be able to mount and place things. Now, while we're down here, you can see the gas grill quick connect. You can also see some under effect lighting, so you can kind of see around your campsite. Also very handy over on the sewer side of things. But you might notice this is where your outside speakers are located. They're not drilling holes through the side of the RV. Now, your underbelly has all those things that you want to hear. It's forced air heated. Obviously, it's enclosed. You can see that. But there's holding tank heat pads and all your holding tanks. There's a radiant barrier laminated directly to the underbelly enclosure. All the stuff that you're kind of expecting on a big fancy fifth wheel like this, it does. I also appreciate the little details here. Like we've got the pet, and I'm going to say grandbaby defender, screen defender right here so they don't dig up your screen door. You've got the bigger pull handle here. I've seen so many people on various Facebook groups who didn't know these things existed, and they have an older RV. And I saw a post just yesterday. A lady said, my husband just found this thing, and it's like a life changer how easy that is. Now, some people ask, why is the window shade on that side of the screen? And the answer is because the door manufacturer used to put it on the inside of the screen door. People hated how it looked. So now we have this illogical arrangement. So there we go. This is an anti-slam friction door. It also has a magnet holdback. and a programmable deadbolt. So if you're going to go e-biking, kayaking, hiking, jogging, something like that, you don't want to worry about accidentally losing your keys while you're running around, because that sucks. You can avoid that whole scenario, which is pretty great. This is hydraulic leveling, by the way. So in case you were kind of curious, they're just, single push button, and talk to anybody. Hydraulic moves very, very fast. There are certainly going to be a couple people who say, no, I still prefer my electric leveling and whatnot. The majority of experienced RVers I talk to prefer hydraulic just because of the speed of it, effectively. Now, the ladder on the back here, I like the more squared off kind of ladder because it allows you to also double the function of it. And when you're camping, everything needs to do two things. You don't think about this, but like if you go for a dip in the lake or whatever, if you need to dry a towel off on your RV, most RVs don't have a good spot for that. If you go to an RV park or whatever, you see people hanging towels and all kinds of things like swimming trunks off of their awning arms. And it doesn't hurt them to do that. I just think it just feels kind of hillbilly-ish. And I mean, all camping is a little hillbilly-ish, I guess. But my point is, this ladder allows you to do things like dry towels and whatnot. And they actually give us a dedicated place up here to make that ladder to roof transition more simple and easy. Which brings us up to the roof, which provides a lot to talk about on a Brinkley. But one of the big things I want to focus on is their 3-year seals and gaskets warranty, because that is something that is exceptionally exceptional with especially the towable RV industry. Like, you look at a lot of, I've seen some towables that have stickers all over them that say things like, you are required to maintain and inspect your seals every 30 days. And I'm like, that's a lot, A lot of them are 90 days, and that's a lot. Brinkley has a 3-year warranty on their exterior sealant point. Basically, anywhere two things are sandwiched together, like around your baggage doors, your entry door, where the rear wall meets the side wall, there's a 3-year warranty on that. So vastly superior, more peace of mind, way less upkeep. I will never tell you any RV is zero maintenance. That's a recipe for disaster. But we've also, of course, got our factory standard 370 watt solar panel up here. And I'm really glad to see that they have changed over to Victron components. I feel very good about Victron. I talked to my techs at the store. They seem to really speak of them as the gold standard, and the service records kind of back that up. Now, you might notice over like the bathroom vent up here, that big Max Air vent fan, they don't have a factory roof vent cover, but there's little cleats up there where you can set the cover down, you clip it in place, you never have to screw anything into your RV and worry about creating additional leak points or anything like that. And you see the little black, hold on, I'm in the Weatherman reverse view there. There we go, the little black cap right there. I tell you, doing these videos, I have a new respect for the weather person on TV. That's not necessarily easy, but it's basically just a conduit. It doesn't actually do anything on its own, but if you want to run like a Starlink kit down, if that can give you a place to run some wiring, if you want to install crazy amount of solar, it can give you a place to run wiring for that. It's a measure of future proofing that will help you avoid needing to drill holes through the roof of your Brinkley, which the factory won't cover. But they'll cover the work that they already did, so it's like scrubbing bubbles. They did the work, so you don't have to, basically. Safe and sound back on the ground. We'll pick things back up right where we left off, actually. The rear view camera, that is something that has been on every Brinkley Model Z since day one. Even their travel trailers, the Z Air trailers, do the exact same thing. I haven't really talked about slide systems. We've kind of seen them, but if you don't know how to identify them, your lower deck slides are both rack and pinion. Your upper deck slide is a slim rack system, just to give you some details there. We, of course, have that factory towing package here where you've got a 3,000-pound tow rating off this hitch. That does mean a 300-pound vertical accessory limit. Someone asked me yesterday, why don't manufacturers build these things to be able to accept like a motorcycle lift on the back? The amount of structure that would require would be extreme. It would have a huge impact on the price tag, on the weight of the RV, all kinds of things. And the hard reality of it is, yes, it is a thing that some people want, but not enough people want to cause everybody to have to pay for it. That's the reality of it. Now, I mentioned how this does have 2 sewer outlets. This is a gray only back here, but notice they give you separate stinky, slinky sewer handy helper tube holders here for both of them. And they both have those electronic dump gate valves. There is a bypass for that. Oh, speaking of bypasses, remember that fold down countertop extension that we referenced earlier? What if, hypothetically, what if that thing just goes absolutely bonkers? Back there, there's an access panel that actually slides open, and there is an override for that. So if for some reason the sensor goes ace deuce on you, and you're like, yeah, look, I know for a fact I have folded that thing down. I need to close my slides because I have to leave. You can still do that. But that's one of those situations of, use common sense and look twice, close once, because otherwise you could have an awful repair bill due, and I'd like to help you avoid that. So let me know what you think, everybody. If you like this, but you want something just slightly smaller, again, take a look at the 2700. Maybe you don't need the washer dryer prep or something. Go with the 2700. Little lighter, little less costly, but same big Brinkley features. And of course, they have a whole laundry list of floor plans now. It's really cool to see their lineup flesh out. I will leave you a bunch of links in the video description. The first one will take you to our website where you can get an idea of at least MSRP and availability on one of these. We're not usually able to publish our discounted sale price in the case of a Brinkley. I don't love that, but that's just the rules of the matter. So understand when you check our site, full-blown MSRP that you see is not what you should expect to pay, at least with us. I don't know about everybody else. Short of that, I'll also leave you a lot of links to other Model Zs that I've done, including a factory construction video tour that if you're going to watch that, you better pop a bag of popcorn because it's about like a Lord of the Rings extended trilogy length endeavor. But if you want to learn all the nuts, bolts, and widgets go down under the skin of this thing, I've got the opportunity for you to do so right there. And short of that, if you appreciate what we do, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.